Alright my friends, this is the first play for the devices from the Wrath Guard. The Wrath Guard is just a rear-weighted chambered high guard with the sword over your shoulder from behind. Meyer says that this is the Wrath Guard because you have taken a very wrathful posture. He also says that the plays from Ox can be done from this guard as well. We have been evacuated due to the fires, so I'm doing this in a park with my SEA sword to avoid being arrested for being the freak in a park with a sword. So we're going to cover the first play. This one's a little tougher to do as a solo drill because Meyer gives us options in this one. So I will run through the translation of the play, my kind of mental shorthand, and then how I practice the various options. So when we look at the translation of the Wrath Guard, the first play is like this. In the approach, when you come into Wrath Guard, then as soon as you can reach him, step and deliver a swift wrath cut at his left ear, which he must then parry. Afterwards, quickly deliver a low cut opposite it at his lower right opening. Thus you have now laid on. Meanwhile, before he gathers himself to work and gathers his arms for the stroke, then fall with your sword below on his arm, and thus hinder his course so that he cannot work. Then, before he knows it, shove him away from you with a sudden jerk so that he falters as if he were going to fall, and strike meanwhile to his nearest opening, which you will then surely have. However, if he recovers and cuts in at you, then be back there with the setting off or slice, and fall on his blade again against his stroke. If he goes back away from the blade, then slice back onto his arm, but if he remains on your sword, then shove his sword out to the side with your shield, and let your sword fly quickly back to the nearest opening, and from there quickly back onto his sword. If he will not let his sword be caught, then pursue with your sword on his arm so that you constrain him as you will. So that's a lot, but it's not that complicated. What Meyer is telling us to do, so we're going to come into our Wrath Guard and we're going to attack with a high cut from the right, a low cut from the left. If he's parried both of those, we're going to step over and we're going to shove him, hopefully off balancing our opponent, and then we're going to smack him in the head. That's the plan. The options are that if we have done the attack and we've gone for the shove and he's come back and parried us, if he pulls back, we're going to slice down onto his arms with the overslice or the underslice. If he stays on our sword, we're going to knock it away and cut around. So the way I choose to practice this on the Pell is I will just take my Wrath Guard, 1, 2, step over, and since the Pell obviously doesn't move, I shove myself away and practice with the hip. If you are doing this in an SEA context, it is possible that pommel push is going to be illegal because the grappling rules that we have are fairly restrictive. An option to do this in the SEA context is after you have done cut 1, cut 2, you can take your pommel hand with a passing step and roll it over the top of his low guard and throw a back edge cut. So we're going to take our handle over the opponent's arms and then do a back edge cut. This is an offside version of the through the window drill that I do with people in the class. So again, Wrath Guard, high cut, low cut, roll your handle and even your arm in the space above their arms and then throw a back edge cut. If you were doing this in a HEMA context, you could certainly do that. If you choose to do the pommel push, let your pommel hand float down low. Be careful because pommeling somebody in the sternum in HEMA is kind of a dick move. Don't do it. But we have to use control when we're going to do these kinds of motions. So one more time on the Pell, Wrath Guard, high cut, low cut, step in, shove, and hit. If they parry that, the slice that Meyer is talking about, so now we've shoved them and we've tried to hit them and they parried it, we're going to stay here. If they pull back like they're going to cut to us, we're going to put our edge onto their arms. This is the slice to cover. We can go to the right or the left. If they stay there, what I like to do is I like to pass so that I can actually knock their sword with my quillions, knock it to the side, float around to a cut. So that is the first Wrath play in Meyer's 1570 text. Hopefully that was clear. Hopefully my genes and SEA sword were not too distracting. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks we'll get back to doing these videos like normal. Thanks.